Everybody, we're going to start in about 1 minute. This is being live streamed, so in case you're wondering why the camera's here. And we're also recording it so that you or others can watch it later. But if you just came in, I'm going to be presenting using a tool called Nearpod. So if you have a phone on you, if you go to nearpod.com and enter this code, DAKWI, to get into the presentation, and we'll get started maybe a minute and a half or so. Hello. Here for the open house? All right, you can have a seat anywhere in this general area so you can see the screen. Hello. Feel free to sit anywhere. Hello. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. Welcome. This is just make sure you're in the right place. This is the Downingtown Cyber Academy Open House. And my name is Christy Burke. I am the coordinator of online learning for the Downingtown Area School District. And so what I'm hoping to do in the next 40 minutes or so is just give you an overview of the cyber program, answer any questions that you might have, and show you some of what it looks like. So if you're just coming in, and by the way, there was 123 people that RSVP'd to come tonight, but I suspect that the nice weather maybe made them change their mind. But if you know anybody who was supposed to come and who didn't, just let them know that we are recording it and that it will be available on the website. So if you go to nearpod.com, you can do it on your phones. And up at the top, I believe it's in the blue area, you can enter a code. And I wanted to do this because I wanted you to see some of the tools that we use in the cyber program with our students. So obviously we're doing this all live as a group, but you can also do Nearpods individually as a student in a self-paced mode. Okay, so has everybody had a chance to get on this site? I'm just going to walk over here and close this. Okay, the code is still up in the left-hand corner. So if people come in late and you want to help them out, you can just tell them to see the code up there in the left. You guys can sit anywhere you want. Plenty of seats over here. Okay, so the Downingtown Cyber Academy was started actually in 2011. So it's been around for about 8 years. It started actually even before I came to Downingtown. And so I've been keeping statistics since I came, which was at the end of 2013. And as you can see, when we first began, we had about 17 students that were doing the Downingtown Cyber Academy. This year, and actually, interestingly enough, I've had to change this slide multiple times, and then I just gave up, because I actually had 3 more students that just started this week. So I think we're up to approximately 310, somewhere around there. But what that number means is we currently have about 307 or so individual students in the Downingtown Area School District that are taking at least one cyber course. And that is a huge jump over years past. So we have quite a few students who are doing the cyber program. Hello, feel free to scooch in anywhere. Plenty of space. Lots of reasons why people choose the Downingtown Cyber Academy. And actually, when people say to me, well, what are some of the top reasons? I say, well, there's about 307 or 8 kids, and there's probably about 307 or 8 different reasons why students will choose to do the cyber program. But I put some of the reasons up here on the screen. So I think the biggest reason is for the flexible scheduling. So if you take a cyber course in the Downingtown Cyber Academy, you can still take courses in your building. So you can create your own schedule of traditional, blended if you're at the high school, and cyber courses, which is very different from a cyber charter school. So if you go to a cyber charter school, you're 100% cyber. And with us, we allow you to take some cyber courses, some traditional, and some blended. Lots of other reasons why students do the Cyber Academy. Sometimes there are scheduling conflicts. This happens actually a lot at the high school. So let's say a student really wants to take an AP calculus class, and it's only offered second period here at West. But that student's also doing allied health and won't be able to make it back in time. So the Cyber Academy allows that student the flexibility of doing that class online instead because they can't get to it face-to-face in the building. We have students who want to graduate early. So we don't have any this year, but last year we had 2 students that graduated early because they were Division I athletes, and the new trendy thing now is for Division I athletes to come in at the end of their senior year and actually start some of their college coursework. So those students finished up at the end of first semester, graduated, and then went on to college. We also have the flip side, where we have some kids who are behind in credits, and so they take cyber courses to try to catch back up. We have a lot of athletes, as I mentioned, so kids who are doing gymnastics and hockey and equestrian riding and all kinds of things, and they have a very busy, compact schedule. They might choose to do some cyber. I also have students who just want to take a cyber course to prepare them for college. Again, that's particularly at the high school level. Most students realize that when they get to college, they're going to probably have to take either a hybrid or a totally online course, and they want the experience of doing it in high school before they have to actually spend thousands of dollars to do it in college. We have kids who have jobs and internships, so they like the flexibility that a cyber class provides. We have some students who have disabilities where they have a hard time being in school all day, and so they will take a cyber class. So as you can see, lots of different reasons, and there are many more that I haven't listed here. So if you're on my Nearpod, answer this question. Of the 307 students who are taking a cyber course this year, how many of them do you think are full-time cyber students? Full-time means they never come into the building ever. Hello. And while you're answering that question, we're going to let all these people come in. Come on in, find some space. There's chairs actually over on that side if you want. And you can sit at this table too. And so if you're just coming in, you want to go to Nearpod. If you want to follow along on your phone, you can go to nearpod.com, and the code is up there on the corner. Okay? So notice in a Nearpod, a teacher can have kids answering questions. Again, if this were self-paced, they'd be doing it on their own time, or they could have the whole class do it. So did everybody have a chance to answer that's in the Nearpod? All right, I see a lot of different responses. Okay, really quickly, what students here do Singapore math? 15% are full-time. Okay, so we have 45 kids out of the approximately 307 students who are full-time cyber, which is actually a very low number, right? 15%. That means that the other 85% are actually coming into the building. All right, so a large portion of our students are coming into the building for something. And what they come in for totally depends on the student. So sometimes kids want to do all their cores cyber, but they want to come in for art or orchestra or music lessons or FCS or anything like that. Out of the 307 students that participate in the program, this year we have 3 elementary students, and that number actually has gone down this year, so we've had more in the past, but it's usually a relatively low number of students that are in the elementary program. We have about 14, and that number went up, but we have about 14 students who are 6 to 8, and then about 290 are in high school. So obviously, the majority of the students that are participating in this program are at the high schools. All right, so really quickly, just wanted to talk to you about some of the benefits of doing the cyber program over maybe doing something like a cyber charter school. So first of all, students who participate in the cyber program, they stay in their home building, even if they're full-time. So if for example, if you come here to Downingtown West and this is your school and you decide to go full-time cyber, you are still considered a Downingtown West student. You can come here and do all of the sports and the clubs and the activities. You can come for college night. You can do field trips and assemblies. So you get a Downingtown West diploma. You don't get a Downingtown Cyber Academy diploma. You get one from Downingtown West. Transcript says Downingtown West, okay? Which I think is really a huge advantage, especially with such a great district like the one we have. Students who are in our cyber program get to keep their current school counselors, so they stick with the counselors that are in the buildings. They keep their case managers if they have an IEP or a GIEP. And I already mentioned this, they can choose between taking traditional and blended and cyber courses, especially if they're at the high school. And so that, I think, is probably the biggest advantage of doing our program. And the other thing to know is, even though you're cyber, all of the teachers in the program are Downingtown teachers. So all of the teachers actually work in one of the 16 buildings in our district. Now, they might not necessarily, if you're here at West, your English teacher might be an English teacher at East, but they're somewhere in the district, which means you can still meet with them if you want. All right, you just have to figure out a way. Maybe the teacher comes here, or you go there, or you meet virtually online, okay? And I'll talk about that a little later. But again, a big advantage of having the teachers be right here in the district where you can reach them. All right, so on this board, again, if you're following along in the Nearpod, what do you think are some characteristics of a successful cyber student? Like, what do you think a student, what kinds of students do you think do well in the cyber program? And if you came in late, you can still join us. All right, just go to nearpod.com and type in the code that's on the left, and you can join in. So take a couple seconds. Characteristics of a successful cyber student, if you want to type them in. All right, and I will read some of these as they're popping up, okay? So, independent, self-motivated, good time management skills. Somebody else said self-motivated. Yes, these are all very, very true. If a student is thinking about being in the cyber program, they're going to have to work independently. They're going to have to be able to ask for help, okay? So there's quite a few students in here. So if you're thinking about doing the cyber program, one of the things is, if you're struggling, there's no teacher that can see your face and realizes that you're struggling. You're going to have to reach out to the teacher and let him or her know, I'm having a rough time, can you help me out? Okay? So that's definitely an important characteristic of a student. Needing to be able to collaborate online, that's a good one, whoever wrote that down. Hardworking, good time management skills, all of these are true. I'll just scroll down a little bit. Self-motivated, confident, time management, right? So all of these things, really, really important. By the way, this list is on our website, and hopefully you all had a chance to look at our website. It's dasd.org/cyber. So if your students are not here, if your children are not here with you and you're the parents, and you want to talk to your student about this, you can go to our website and the list is there. And you can kind of go through piece by piece and say, do you think this sounds like you? In other words, do you think that you would be a good candidate for doing something like this? Okay, special education. Students who have their needs met through an IEP are eligible to do the Downingtown Cyber Academy. So one of the things we do is, if a student has an IEP, we will have an IEP team meeting before the student starts to figure out what kind of accommodations the student will need, what modifications we might need to do to the class. And we'll have to come up with all of that. We enter it into the IEP, and then the teachers are given the IEPs. And the teachers, of course, know that they have to follow all the required modifications and accommodations that are in the IEP. But we have that meeting because some of what's in an IEP doesn't apply. Okay, so some of what applies in a face-to-face class won't apply online, and vice versa. Okay, so that's why we have that meeting. And it's really important to know that the students have the same case manager, which a lot of parents really like. So if a student is transitioning into cyber, that's one less thing that you have to worry about. You will maintain the same case manager that they're already with. Okay, so this one's for parents. So if you are a parent of a student who is in elementary school and you want to do the Downingtown Cyber Academy, a couple things you need to know. First of all, the students should plan to spend about an hour per subject per day on their schoolwork. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that part of the cyber program, one of the bonuses is the flexibility. So you can spend 1 hour every day or somehow get the 5 hours somewhere, okay? So if a student is doing something on a Tuesday and they need to make it up on a Saturday, that is fine, okay? That's the flexibility that the cyber program gives you. But as the parent, you're overseeing and making sure that they're at least spending that amount of time on their classes. Especially at the elementary level, you want to help them schedule, like, okay, it's 10 o'clock, now we're going to work on this. You want to kind of work with them on that. You're going to be a little more involved than at the secondary level as a parent, helping them with their lessons, making sure that they know what's going on, and communicating with the teacher if the child's having difficulty. Okay? Parent responsibilities at the secondary level is a little bit different. We expect that by the time students get into the secondary level, which to us is 6th grade, that means that the parents are going to be a little more hands-off. Okay? However, you still want to monitor that the students are putting in the same amount of time. And again, at the secondary level, we tell students, if you were here in school and you were spending approximately an hour in English every day, plus you have homework, you should be spending the equivalent amount of time on your cyber courses. Okay, that's a really important thing for parents to communicate to the students, because a lot of times they think it's going to be less time, and it's not. All right, so they need to understand that it's going to be about the equivalent amount of time. You still have that flexibility, though, of when you do it. Parents should verify that lessons and assignments are done, and I'll talk a little later about ways to do that, that they're communicating with the teachers, they're checking on student attendance, and they're communicating with me or the teacher if there's an issue. Okay, so real quick, true or false, parents are expected to help teach the students. Put your answer in the Nearpod. Is that true or false? Well, I'm glad I did this because some people got it incorrect. Everybody have a chance? The correct answer is no. The parents are not expected to teach the students. We have teachers assigned to every class that are there to help teach the students. The parents are just there to help monitor the students, make sure they're staying on pace. But we are not, even if it's a 2nd grader, we're not expecting the parents to teach the 2nd grader. Okay? They will learn through the modules and through working with the teacher. So that's not something you're expected to do. All right, so let's talk about the program itself. There are 2 platforms we're going to be using next year. One is Schoology, which most students are familiar with. That is the required learning management system starting in 6th grade. And then the other one is Enginee. And so I'm going to talk about both. Schoology is the learning management system that everybody uses, optionally starting in 3rd, 4th, and 5th, but definitely starting in 6th grade. And it's very familiar to all the students for that reason. So our Schoology courses are integrated with all the other courses. So they will see their regular traditional courses, blended courses, and cyber courses all in one spot in Schoology. What I like about Schoology, it's integrated with the students' Google accounts. It's integrated with their traditional and blended, so they can see everything in a calendar in the same spot. And their grades will automatically sync to Home Access Center. So if the students are in a Schoology course, it will sync to Home Access Center, and you, the parents, can see them very quickly. This is the list of courses that are currently offered in the Downingtown Cyber Academy in Schoology. So if any of your students are either planning to take these or have already signed up to take them, these are the ones that will be in Schoology. And I won't read the list to you, but as you can see, most of the courses in Schoology are high school courses, with the exception of 6th and 7th grade French and level 1 French, because that's usually done in 7th or 8th grade. And same thing with Spanish. But all the other courses that are done in Schoology are high school level courses. Our other platform is Enginee. These are the courses that all of our elementary students will be doing and our middle school students, with a few exceptions that I mentioned earlier. And high school students will be doing some of those courses that aren't on the list in Enginee as well. Enginee is video-based, so a lot of the instruction is done through video. The students cannot, much to their chagrin, cannot fast forward through the video. They must watch it at least one time through, and then they can go back and forth in the video, but they have to at least watch it once. It's very interactive. The video will stop and ask the students, graph this line or answer a multiple choice question or something like that. Okay, so it's not just a student sitting there and watching it, but they're interacting as they're going along. It is mastery based. So what that means is the students have an introduction, lesson, material that they have to do, and then they have an assessment. If a student fails, let's say, a quiz in Enginee, then it will automatically ask them to do a quiz again. So they're offered a retake. If they fail that, some courses will let them do it a third time, but eventually if the student can't pass, the system will stop. And the teacher and the student have to have some sort of interaction in order for the student to go forward. So the teacher will also get an alert that says, hey, this student is stuck on this assignment. And so the teacher usually will reach out to the student, whether it's through email or a phone call or whatever, and find out why is the student having difficulty passing that quiz. They may offer them other resources. They may set up a time to get together and talk. Okay, there's lots of different things that the teacher can do to make sure the students learn the material. Maybe the student says, you know what, I was just really tired last night. I shouldn't have tried the quiz. And the teacher will say, okay, no problem, I'll give you another shot. Okay, so teacher has two choices. Teacher can actually leave that grade and let the student go on, or will give the student another shot at the quiz. Okay, so I really like that, because I think that means that the students are really learning the material and not just kind of plowing through as they go. Interestingly enough, Enginee has support for 17 different languages. So if English is not your first language and you want to switch and listen to the videos in a different language, you can do that. It is self-paced by marking period. So what that means is elementary students are on a trimester. They have 3 marking periods, and our middle and high school students are on 4 marking periods. They have from the beginning of the marking period until the end of the marking period to do the coursework, which is incredibly flexible. So there's no actual due dates. There's nothing that they have to have done by a particular date, as long as the material is done by the end of the marking period. Now that's an Enginee. In Schoology, there's a few more due dates. Okay, sometimes teachers will ask that students are done with half of the class by mid-marks and then the other half by the end. But in any rate, that's at least 4 weeks of flexibility for the student, which I think is really valuable. All right, the next few slides, I'm just going to show you what Enginee looks like. By the way, if you go to our website, there's actually a little demo and you can watch it live, but I'm just going to show you a few things on this screen. So when you log in, up here at the top, you'll see where it says course completed. What that does is that tells you how much of the course have you done. And below it, it'll say target completion. So this student's done about 5%, and they should have done closer to about 8%, but they're still pretty much on target. So you'll see different colors when you log in. If you see red, that means the student is behind pace. If it's green or it's blue, they're either ahead or on pace. All right, so I think that's really valuable information to see when you log in. Then below that, there are 2 grades that the student will see. The first is the overall grade. That's the grade that the student gets on the work that they've done. So this student's doing an excellent job. He has a 97% on the work that he's completed. However, he's only completed about 5%, and he really should have done about 8%. So when you give zeros for the assignments that you should have done, his actual grade is about a 62. Does that make sense to everybody? So when teachers report in Home Access Center what a student's grade is, they're going to show you their actual grade and not their overall grade, because they want the parents to know the student's behind pace. Okay? So just something to know. All of the students' courses are over here on the left-hand side. And there's a button there that says Next Activity. And I think this is kind of neat. Wherever you were in the course when you logged off, it remembers that and it'll pick you right back up. Even if you're in the middle of a video or in the middle of a quiz, it remembers where you were and it'll just pick you right back up in that same spot, which I think is kind of neat. All right, this is what one of the videos will look like. So usually you see something over here, which is the actual running video. On the right-hand side is the teacher who's having a conversation and talking about the information. Down on the bottom, you can see how many videos there are in this series. So this one has 13. And then this is one of my favorite things. Over on the right-hand side is a transcript. So there's a transcript for every single video lesson, word for word, what the teacher is saying, and it's even time-stamped. So one of my more industrious students this year said, oh, I actually copy and paste the transcript into Google Docs, and then I use that to take my notes. So I highlight things and put comments, and I thought that was pretty clever. So you have that over here, and also it's not on this screen. I'm not showing you in the screenshot, but it is also closed captioned. Right? So if students have difficulty hearing the video, they can see the captioning. And by the way, if you're listening to it in a different language, it will close caption in that language as well, which is really neat. In addition, just like in Schoology, you can see a daily calendar. So remember I said there's really no due dates. However, if you're the kind of person who really needs to know what am I supposed to do today, what the program does is it says this is when you start the class, this is when you finish the class, and here's what you should do every day in order to finish on time. This is just a suggestion. These are not real hard due dates. But some students really like to be able to see this and to know, okay, and you can see there's a check mark when they do it, so the students can see where they are and if they're staying on pace. All right, this might look a little more familiar to some of you, but this is what a cyber course in Schoology would look like. And a couple things that we do differently in the cyber program than maybe some of the other courses that you might see your students looking at is they're very, they follow a specific form. Okay, so it'll say period at the top, marking period, so you know what marking period you're in. And then it will say what week you're in. So students will always know I'm in this week, and this is the work I need to do for the week in order to stay on pace. And we, very similarly to Enginee, we label what everything is. So there's usually an introductory video where the Downingtown teacher will explain to a student what it is they're going to be learning. And then there will be one of three things. They'll either have content, which is what they're supposed to be learning, kind of like direct instruction from a teacher. There will be activities, and then there will be some sort of assessment. So students will see one of those three things every week. And so this is kind of interesting. So this one is a discussion on sociological perspectives. I have no idea what that means. This is for a sociology class. But notice there are 29 responses. So this is a pretty popular cyber course. It has a lot of kids in it. And when that happens, then the teacher is able to do a lot of robust discussions in the class. All asynchronous. So again, students don't have to log in at a certain time, just at some point during the week. And they have a trading card assignment, sociologist dinner party, which sounds very exciting, and then a vocab quiz at the end. Okay? And also notice in Schoology, very similarly to Enginee, your due dates will be over on the right, just like they are in your traditional classes. All right, and this is just an example. I won't play it, but this is an example of, in a Schoology class, the introduction. So you'll notice that this one is only 51 seconds long. So it's not, you're not watching 10-minute videos. They're usually short and pretty quick. Okay? And this is another example. So this is in English 11. All juniors in the Downingtown Area School District have to write a research paper. And so this is the cyber course, and it's walking them through how to write a research paper. And so conducting a database search, for example, the students are using the same resources that everyone in Downingtown is using. And if a student wanted to go to Downingtown East or West and use the library, they certainly can do that as well. Okay, and this is just another example of a discussion that students were having in Schoology. Okay, if you're in Nearpod, you'll be able to see this. Excuse me. This is a retake application, and I want to mention this because I think this is another unique benefit to the cyber program. In the Downingtown Cyber Academy, we really strongly believe that we want students to not concentrate on grades, but concentrate on the material that they're learning. So if a student does poorly on an assessment, so they don't do well on a paper or a quiz or a test, something that's graded, they have the opportunity to fill out this retake revision application. And what that means is they fill it out and you, as the parent, sign it, the student signs it, and the teacher signs it. And basically the student has to say why they think they did poorly, what they think they would do better next time. The teacher may ask them to do a few extra things, like, you really struggled in this area on your research paper, so I'd like you to watch these 2 videos first. And then the student will get to redo the assignment. And the assignment always is the highest grade that the student got, okay? So we don't average them in with the first or anything like that. So if you got a 60 on your paper, you redid it, and you ended up with an 85, 85 is your grade. All right. By the way, all this material that I'm going over is on the website, and we have 3 different programs of study. So we have one for K to 5, one for 6 to 8, and one for 9 to 12. I really encourage you to go and look at that. All the information that I'm giving to you right now is in that program of study. You can also see all the courses that we offer, credits, everything like that. Basically, if it's offered in the building, then we are probably offering it in the cyber program. Now, there are some things that we can't offer cyber, like currently we cannot offer woodshop in the cyber program, but everything else, world languages, engineering, all the science classes, including labs, English, driver's ed, you name it, if it's in the building, you're probably going to be able to take it in the cyber program. Okay, I'm almost done. Student support, because this is an important one. A lot of times people will say, well, what if my student's not doing well? And I know I've kind of mentioned some of these things, but I really want to emphasize them. The teachers really care about the students doing well. And there's a lot of opportunity for a student and a teacher to get together and talk. Probably the most common is we have a web conferencing tool in Schoology where it's kind of like, it's kind of like a Zoom meeting where the teacher has, you can see the teacher's face, the student can chat, the student can raise their hand and talk and ask questions, and there's a whiteboard. So for example, in math, a teacher can actually be writing out a problem and showing a student how to solve it. So meetings in Schoology and or a Zoom meeting is one of the options. There's also a chat feature. So in Edgenuity, when a student logs in, if a teacher is also logged in at the same time, the teacher will get a little notification that Ashley is logged in. And so if for some reason the teacher wants to chat, then she can reach out directly to Ashley through the chat feature. Ashley can also say, I really like to talk to the teacher, and can request a chat to the teacher. For the safety of our students, there is no chatting between students. So it's only student to teacher. And for the safety of our students and our teachers, every chat is recorded. Okay? So we have a digital recording of everything that happened in the chat. And I can access that at any time as the administrator, in case you're worried about that. Of course, they can have a phone conversation. They can email the teacher. And I already mentioned they can have face-to-face meetings with the teacher if they'd like. I even had Dr. Girth is a teacher for the elementary program. And one of her students did not think she was a real human being. And so she arranged to meet the child at the Lionville Starbucks. So she went to Starbucks and met the girl, and she was very excited. She got to meet Dr. Girth. So face-to-face meetings, totally possible. If you're in high school, as you know, most of the high schools offer a homework club. And again, because you're a student there, you are welcome. So if you're struggling with math and maybe you can't connect with the teacher and the times that they're available doesn't work for you and vice versa, you can always go to the homework club and get extra help on English, math, or whatever you need. And I already mentioned this, you stay with your DASD counselor and you stay with your case manager if that's applicable. Okay, last question for you to answer. If students need support for their cyber courses, which of the following can they do? And check all of the ones that apply. So if you can do that in the Nearpod right now, and I'll show the answer on the board in a minute. Excuse me. And so, by the way, while you're doing that, if I were running this Nearpod as a teacher of a cyber course, and everybody was doing it at a different time, there's a way for me to go in and see what everybody's answers were after the fact, which is kind of neat. So it kind of keeps all that data, and the teacher can access it later. All right, looks like most of you had a chance to vote. So all of the things on that list you can do, except you cannot attend a teacher's face-to-face class. So if you're taking English 11 and you know Mrs. Shovelin is teaching English 11 here at West, you can't just show up here and go to her class. All right, and that's mostly for security reasons. All right, and finally, I just want to spend a couple of minutes talking about summer school. So the Downingtown Cyber Academy also offers summer school options. These options are only for high school students. So the student has to have graduated from 8th grade before they can take a summer school course that counts for high school. But what that means is if anyone here is an 8th grader, then this summer you can take a course in summer school and it will count towards high school credit. And it will go on your high school GPA and it will go on your high school transcript. So we have a number of different options in summer school. Number one, we have a physical education class. It's very popular. And that's a face-to-face class. It's not cyber. It meets from 8 to 11:30 right here at Downingtown West. Just because it's at West doesn't mean you have to go to West. Okay, it's open to all students in the district. It just happens to be meeting here. And it's Monday through Thursday from June 17th until the second week in July. No class on the 4th. We also offer half credit and 1 credit original credit courses. Original credit courses are all cyber. So you don't have to come to school at all. You can be sitting at your beach house in Avalon and doing your cyber course. That's fine. I actually have one student who said, I'm going to be in Africa all summer. I said, as long as you have an internet connection, that's fine. Okay? So original credit and enrichment credit courses, which I'll talk about in a minute, are June 17th to August 9th. They are cyber and they're asynchronous, which means you do not ever have to be logged on at a particular time. Enrichment courses, well, let me back up. Original credit courses do go in your GPA, do count for high school credit, and are on your transcripts. Enrichment courses are the opposite. So those are courses you want to take for fun, just to learn something new, and without the pressure of a grade. So enrichment courses do not go on your transcript, do not count towards your GPA. And we have some interesting things. We have cosmetology, careers in military science, projects in audio engineering. There's some really cool stuff. Why would you want to take a course that you didn't get credit for and that didn't go on your transcript? Well, first of all, it is a lot less pressure. All right, maybe you don't want to be stressed out over the summer. Maybe you think you're interested in it, but you're not 100% sure, so you don't want the pressure of trying to do well in a course you're not good at. And honestly, if you really do want to talk about it when you go to college, you can write about it in your application. You can ask your counselor to mention it in her letter of recommendation. This student was so interested in criminal justice that he took a criminal justice enrichment course over the summer, even though he got no credit. Okay, so you can say something about it if you want. But enrichment courses, original credit, June 17th to August 9th, that's 8 weeks. And finally, we do offer credit recovery courses. Those are for students who have failed a course and need to retake it. That is also cyber, but it's done here at Downingtown West with a teacher present to help you as you're going along. So it is self-paced and you're kind of moving on your own pace, but the teacher is there for extra support. Summer school Credit recovery, original credit, and enrichment are $225, and 1 credit courses are $375. And registration is open. It started on April 1st, and it's open until the end of April if you're interested in doing a summer school course. Okay? And if you're in the Nearpod, you can click right now where it says website, and it'll take you directly to the summer school registration page. All right, and this is it. This is an opportunity now for you to ask questions. So you can just shout out if you have a question for me, or if you're feeling shy, you can actually enter the question into the Nearpod. So I'll stop every couple of questions and refer to the ones that are here. But anyone have any questions for me? Yeah.
So there is no traditional summer school like for geometry where you go in from 8 to 11 to get the credit. There's no
face-to-face. No, it's right. It's all online. Right.
Math online.
Yep. Yep. So again, what's that?
How do you do?
Yes, like I showed you with that you have the video instruction. Students have things that are interactive. Summer school is not mandatory. It's not required. We don't expect any of our students to do summer school. So if a student is hesitant at all, don't do it. Just take the class during the school year. That's what I would say. There are students who want to accelerate in math.
Right.
Those are the ones that are going to do geometry online so that they can accelerate in math during the school year. But we don't expect, as a district, we don't expect any student to do anything over the summer. That's entirely optional.
Question?
Yes.
Is the summer geometry a half credit or 1 credit?
That's a full credit.
So that's $375
Yes.
for the online
Yes.
for 6 weeks?
8.
8 weeks.
8 weeks. It's 8 weeks. Yep, June 17th to August 9th. And we haven't hired the teachers yet, but I will say the 2 teachers that did it last year, hopefully we'll do it again this year. They're both teachers at STEM, and they're awesome, really willing to go out of their way to help students. And so even though you are completely online, you will be able, they'll have web conferences in Schoology. They'll tell you when they are, so students can log in, and they'll do lessons for them live. Students can ask questions and everything. So the 2 teachers are great. How many hours a day will you be using the cyber course, weekends and weekdays? I mean, it really depends on the student. If a student really understands the material, they might go through it a little more quickly. If a student's struggling, they may have to take their time going through the material. But in general, I say that the amount of time you would spend on the course at school is probably equivalent to what you'd be doing if you're taking the course online. Who writes the content on Enginee? Enginee, that's a great question. Enginee is a company, is an educational software company. They're the ones that does all of the material. All of the material is PA Common Core aligned. So they actually will write courses for California and Florida and all the states that have different standards, and we have Pennsylvania-specific courses written for us. In addition, the teachers will go through and make sure that whatever is in the course lines up with what we're doing here in Downingtown if they're using an Enginee course. For example, I have a chemistry teacher, also happens to be at STEM. She's teaching cyber chemistry this year. She said to me, hey, there are some units that we do here in the district that aren't in the program. I reach out to the company. We find the units in other places, like maybe it's in the Texas course or maybe it's in an honors course, and we add them to make sure they line up with what we're doing here in the district. Yes, sir?
So is Enginee an app or is it a website?
It's website. Yep. Yeah.
Can they finish the whole course like within that like eight weeks period? Because it's if you could take the regular one like in the
You mean summer?
yeah.
Yes, great question. If you're talking to your students about the summertime, you want to mention to them you're trying to do 37 weeks of a course in about 8. It is extremely compact and very accelerated. So I tell students it's a full-time job. So you're going to spend approximately 30 hours a week just on this course. So if you do not want to spend 30 hours a week on the course, wait and take it during the school year. For just that reason. It's very accelerated. Of course, half credit courses is going to be about half of that. The list of the enrichment and original credit courses that are on the website, on the summer school page, if you want to see that. Are there virtual live classes? Not specifically, but you can request, again, to have your teacher go over something if you'd like. And I'm going to scroll down. Is anyone have live questions before I scroll? Yeah. Yep.
The devices, they use the same like middle school, elementary school?
Yes, great question. So if you are in kindergarten to 5th grade, we will give you a laptop if you do the cyber program full time. If you're in 6th to 8th grade, you would use the district iPad, and if you're in 9 to 12, you would use either the district laptop or you would BYOD as long as it met the district's minimum requirements. So basically, once you're in 6th grade, you're following the one-to-one program for your device.
Question.
Yes?
So I believe like my kid has already assigned classes for next semester. So if they want to change one to cyber, how do you do it?
Great question. So if anybody, probably should have mentioned that. If anybody wants to apply for a cyber course that hasn't already done so, because usually at the high school, for example, kids have already signed up for cyber through Home Access Center. But if they've changed their mind or they're not in high school, if you go on our website, it says 2019, 2020 cyber registration, and there's an application there, and you just fill that out.
Sorry.
Yes?
Does that allow you to replace one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. You're going to specify. It's going to ask you. Basically, you have to go through every content area. Do you want to take anything in art? Do you want to take anything in music? And so you're picking out what courses you want to take through that application. Is the summer school only for high school students? Yes. There are elementary and middle school programs, but those are more for struggling students, not like what we have at the high school. What would students do during PSSAs? Excellent question. Our students are required by law to take all of the state required exams. So students will be taking PSSAs, Keystone exams, and so forth. Of course, parents have the option to opt out via the same way the traditional kids would opt out, cyber students can do the same. But in general, you are required to come and take the exams. So usually that requires you to come back into the building for those exams. I've had instances where students do the cyber program because they have high anxiety and can't go into the building for whatever reason, and in that case, they would come and take the exam with me at central office. Okay? I've gotten very good at proctoring. I've proctored AP exams, Keystones, and PSSAs. All I have left on my list to do is SATs, but now after the big scandal, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't ever want to get in trouble for anything. So, but if worse comes to worse, you can always come in and do those exams with me. What would an elementary student's day look like if they did classes online, core classes online, and the rest? I think this person might have meant classes in school, right? I'll answer it like that. If I'm misunderstanding your question, let me know. Elementary, this is a great question. Actually, kindergarten all the way through 8th grade. If you're not in a class at school, then you need to be home, okay? So maybe you take 4 classes up to 4th period, and then you go home. Or if you're in elementary school, maybe you go home after lunch or something like that. Or the reverse, you come in late. But if you're not taking a class physically in the building, then you can't be there. You have to be somewhere else, because you're saying, I don't want to be in the building, I want to be cyber. Does that make sense? High school is a little bit different. Because high school students can take a lot of cyber, traditional blended, they can actually stay in the building during a period when they don't have anything scheduled. All right, so they could technically take a class 1st, 2nd, and 3rd period, have nothing on their schedule 4th, and then maybe they have another class 5th. All right, if they're in the building and they don't have a class because they're maybe doing cyber work, they can come here to the library. As you can see, it's a lovely place, or the cafeteria, guidance, wherever they want to go. They can also leave with parent permission. So it's a little bit different for elementary and middle versus high school, but I think that makes sense maturity-wise. Can anyone decide to switch back to the traditional classes? Absolutely, and that's another huge benefit of not going to a cyber charter. If you're not sure, if you think it's going to be a good fit, I've actually had multiple students this year transfer back into the traditional classroom, and that is fine. Okay, if it doesn't work out and you feel like you'd be better off in school, then we just put you right back. Okay, so that's never an issue. Yes?
And if a kid like signs up for the summer cyber program, like like geometry or anything, and if they feel like it is like overwhelmed for them, and like how does it work? Like they can come out and then can they take the regular course?
Well, that's different because that's summer school, so that's treated differently. So if a student's in summer school, they have about a week of the 8 weeks to decide whether or not they're going to stay in the class. All right, so they start on Monday. If by Friday they have to decide whether or not they're going to stay. If they stay, that class is going on their transcript no matter what. Even if they drop out or don't do well, it's going on their transcript. So they have until that Friday to decide. But if it's Friday and they say this is too much, then they can drop out and it will not go on their transcript.
Okay. Will we get the refund of the money, or like?
There are no refunds for the class because we've already hired the teacher.
Okay. And,
So I think the point to be learned about summer school is you need to think very carefully about whether or not you want to do it and make the commitment to the time and all of that. If you want, I can show you what the course would look like. So if you want to email me, and maybe I can show you actually the scope and sequence of the course, all the things we'll be covering, and that kind of thing, if that will help you make your decision. No SAT prep classes during the summer, but that is an awesome idea. Maybe I'll put that on the list for next year. If a high school student is taking level 2 course during the school year, can they take level 1 course of the same course during the summer to get better at the material, I'm assuming? I'll scroll down. The answer is yes. Students at the high school are allowed to take a course that they've already taken for grade improvement. So if you took a course and you got a D, so you got the credit, but you don't like the grade, you can take the course again over the summer to get a better grade. You just don't get credit again because you've already taken it. But you do get another grade. It does go on your transcript, and it does get factored into your GPA. So you're welcome to do that. If students take a 1-credit course, I tell students full-time job. It's about 25 to 30 hours a week for those 8 weeks. Students will say, can I go on vacation? And I will say, no problem, as long as you plan to be spending 25 to 30 hours while you're on vacation doing your course. If you want to go away on vacation and not worry about it, then wait and take the course during the school year. All right, while I walk over to scroll that down. Anybody else have a question? Yes?
So how does it work with, say, STEM? So my son, if he wants to take chemistry over the summer, he would have chemistry for the next school year.
Mm-hmm.
Would he be taking the chemistry again?
That's a great question. So let's talk about STEM for just a minute. STEM is a little bit, it's like the unique unicorn because it has the IB program, which does not currently allow us to do cyber. So there are a few courses that you can take cyber and stay at STEM, but you need to talk to the counselor about it before you sign up for one. Okay, because of the IB requirements, you're really limited on what you can do. If a student is at STEM and wants to be full-time cyber, we actually ask them to transfer first back to East or West, and then they go full-time cyber. Because we cannot satisfy the STEM graduation requirements through the cyber program. Any plans to expand courses offered for summer school? Absolutely. Really in 2016 is when I first really started taking over the cyber program, and it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger every year. It's really dependent on student interest, but absolutely we're willing and ready to put courses up that students want to take, for sure. All right, yes?
Ms. Brooke, I had a question similar to what someone else asked. I have a son, a sophomore in STEM, and I'm interested in understanding. I'm looking at the program of study grades 9 to 12 for 19-20 year.
Yep.
Can he take physics over the year as a cyber course while he's simultaneously doing bio and chemistry, because physics is a requirement, say he's interested in doing physics, can he do that?
So probably, but I would check with the counselors to make sure that what he's doing will satisfy whatever requirements he needs to meet for the high school.
And if they do this, if they have a chance to do the summer course, credit course and appear on his transcript and have
Yes.
it with you
Yep.
on the transcript as well?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
No. Oh, this is another good question. I get this question all the time from 8th grade parents, concerned about if being in the cyber program somehow negatively impacts the acceptance to STEM. Absolutely not. No. Okay, it's the Downingtown Cyber Academy is part of the district. We work really hard to make sure that it's robust and rigorous and is just as challenging as all the classes are in our traditional buildings. I did hear someone ask what blended was. A blended course is a course in the high school, 9 to 12, that only meets 50% of the time during a cycle. So typically our students will take a 1-credit course. It will meet 6 times in a 6-day cycle. If it's a blended course, it'll meet 3 times in a 6-day cycle. But that doesn't mean they're doing 50% of the work. That means 50% of the work is done online. So it's kind of like a half cyber, half traditional class. So really great option for students who are not sure they want to go cyber, but they want to kind of try it out. That's a good option. All right, so since it's getting close to 8 o'clock, I'm going to wrap up. I did want to introduce, because he came in, I don't know if you saw him come in. Matt Friedman's over in the back. He is the Chief Academic Officer for the district. So he's here also to say hi and to answer any questions that any of you may have. Did you want to say anything? Okay, so he just says hi. So if you have any questions, I'm going to stay as long as you need me to, so feel free to ask me any questions, or you can always email me later. But thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And have a good night.